hope that I don't in frame here. I think so. Let's hope so. All right, I'll just do a little intro and then we'll get going.
Sounds good.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Balls in Your Face Marketing. I'm here with an excellent gentleman that I met at the Globe and Mail Small Business Summit, Steve Hubbard. He's with Lightenco. He's the Director of Sales and Business Development and I think some other titles as well. So thanks so much for joining me, Steve. Very nice.
Thank you for having me. It's nice to be here in your backyard, actually, and enjoy a nice coffee with you at the same time. So
yeah, no, it's my pleasure to have you. It's nice to finally actually do an interview with somebody in person. Everybody's been in different parts of the world, so it's nice to actually do something. And you had mentioned too, you're like, oh, it'd be nice to do something in between two ferns, right? Yeah. So there we go. I got one over there. I know there's one that's maybe it's doing okay over there, but technically, so we managed to get you what you were looking for, and this is fun for me. So why don't you first tell me a bit about Lightenco and what you guys do?
Yeah, so Lightenco, we started in 2010, 2011, and essentially we do turnkey LED lighting solutions, mostly LED lighting. It's not the only technology, but essentially we built a service around a product that's been quite hot over the last 5 or 6 years or more. And that service does everything from the installation of the lamps, the procurement of the incentive programs through the government, Ontario government, installation, electrical, and certifications for electrical work, recycling of the old lamps, which a lot of them contain mercury, so we recycle them properly through the Recycling Council of Ontario, and then we try our best to get that client a little bit of promotion for what they're doing in terms of energy conservation, sustainability, and reducing their carbon footprint. So it's, in a nutshell, really quickly what we do. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So so one of the things that certainly was interesting and cool about your story is that you guys are, as far as I understand, one of the fastest growing companies in Ottawa right now. How did you achieve that?
Yeah, so I think the main thing that we had is we just kind of like hit a very large client. Got not exactly lucky. Every time I tell somebody there's lucky, they're like, come on, don't be ridiculous. Everything is a product of everything you've done in the past, right?
Yeah,
so
for sure. Like, and I think success is always a bit of a combination of all of that. It's a combination of the work. It's a combination of a bit of luck. It's a combination of timing, right? There's all kinds of factors. But sorry, go on.
Yeah, exactly. It's just a quick word to sum it up, although it doesn't make any sense, and it kind of cheats yourself of all the hard work that you did, I guess, too, at the same time. But we worked very hard to, in the early days, look for some key clients that were well known in the city. If I'm just talking of Ottawa, which is where I've been based most of the time, those names and brands we were able to leverage and get to some larger people, some referrals, and then I think about 2.5 years ago, we started working with the largest private multi-residential group in Canada, and we worked hard to showcase our abilities in one building for them, and they subsequently gave us 60 buildings, so we're pretty much getting towards 60 buildings. Wow. So that really allowed us to grow super rapidly. At the same time, we had some luck with some hotel groups, which has been a big vertical for us recently as well, and keeping me busy traveling around, and that's why I have the pleasure to be with you today. So it's
awesome.
Good.
Yeah, and you guys also won the 40 under 40.
Yeah.
Why don't you just talk about that?
Yeah, so that was last year. I applied for it, and then one of my business partners applied for it this year and got it. And it's a combination of being a successful business, obviously, and having some growth and showing that you hiring people and contributing to the local economy. Also part of being involved in the chamber, so we are now, as a result, involved in the chamber. But they also look at what you've done for the community. So last year we actually had a little chalet retreat for all of our staff in January last year. We went to Quebec, had a little sauna sort of atmosphere, and sweated out talking about what we wanted to do as a company. And the 3 largest things that were identified amongst our staff, which was a really useful exercise, was 1, give back. 2, recycle in our office. We were in a really crummy office and they didn't have recycling offered to us, so we figured that out because we're a sustainability based company. And I can't remember 3, we'll skip that for now, but number 1, we decided to take very seriously, and we worked with some other organizations that are in the environmental or nonprofit space to sort of co-pay for LED lighting retrofits. One's a big shelter in Ottawa called Shepherds of Good Hope. Another one was Roger Nielsen House, which is a part of the Children's Hospital of Eastern Ontario, where they have terminally ill kids come and stay with their families. And the other one was a women's shelter. So we're really able to do a lot with that last year, and I think that's the other part of why we were given that award, is just because we took that to heart.
Well, I mean, this is something that I've actually have believed in for a very long time. One of my first great jobs shortly after university was actually working for Ben and Jerry's Ice Cream here in Canada, basically fulfilling their social mission. And so that was something that I certainly have believed for a very long time, that doing good in business is good for business. And in fact, that is exactly why I singled you out, along with the other two people that I've interviewed from the Global Male Small Business Summit, was that just got a clear sense that you were an earnest, honest, nice guy. It doesn't surprise me at all to hear that you guys are doing that kind of thing. And I think that's going to be the long-term reputational gains from that. I just think are almost sort of, it's just too intangible and unquantifiable. But I think it's big, and especially in today's world of social media, right? When it always was the case that people talk. Right, and your employees talk, your customers talk. Eventually, if you're cutting corners, ripping people off, whatever the case might be, that's going to come and bite you in the ass at some point. And in today's world of social media, I think that just gets accelerated that much faster. So it doesn't surprise me at all that you guys are doing that kind of stuff, and that's great to hear. So as somebody who's focused on the sales side of things, why don't you tell me a bit about some advice that you could give to young entrepreneurs for sales?
Yeah, so I think there's a few key elements that I've noticed over the years. I mean, I think I was always a very shy person growing up, and I think I had two older brothers that were very popular in school and had very outgoing and very outspoken, and I think I lacked a bit of confidence. But at some point in time in my 20s, something snapped, and I decided this is ridiculous, I'm just going to grow out of it. And I was a bartender too. I think bartenders are good people to hire because they know how to talk to people, emote with people, understand people, and I think that gave me a bit of that too at the same time, broke me out of my shell. But I think being confident, but also confident in what you're selling, right? I mean, I don't want to be a confident salesperson for like Weed Man. I mean, that's probably not what I want to do in my life, right? But being confident selling something that's good for you, good for the environment, good for the client, good for win-win-win-win-win is a little bit different and easy, but still confidence is key in that element. I think honesty is hugely important. We've been told that in the past. You may have screwed something up, but by being honest about it and addressing it and not putting your head in the sand, you come out of it a better person, a better company, and with more success. And we've had referrals from people that said, we had these guys work for us, and yeah, there was a couple hiccups, but it's how they dealt with them that really was key with us too. And then I think the last thing with sales is just, as I was saying before, find some of the well-known targets, get some clients that other people would go, wow, that's one of your clients, that's pretty cool, I like their gelato or whatever, right? So
no, and it's so true what you're saying about being willing to fall on your own sword, right? I mean, when you apologize, then it's kind of disarming for other people, right? They're not going to get mad at you. If you're kind of trying to hide your mistakes, I think that's what really upsets people. They know when they're being lied to. They know when the person isn't really being forthcoming with them, and that just that upsets them. That gives them an opportunity to be critical of you. But again, if you just apologize for a mistake, and everybody, we're all human, we all make mistakes, then I think that's a great way. That's some great advice. So at that event, you were on the panel that was talking about bootstrapping your own business. And again, the fact that you guys are one of the fastest growing companies in Ottawa, why don't you tell me a bit about how you've managed to support yourself, get yourself started on your own dime, and do that.
So years ago, we only needed a small investment to do it, to get our first sort of order for product that we were going to bring. Obviously, the service is reliant on the people, so that was easy. We had that. We were all working full-time jobs, of course, like most other entrepreneurs that I know, that would go out. I was fortunate that I was working with an overseas market, so I was done at 3 p.m. every day and had a little extra time to get out and do stuff, which helped. And we slowly kind of quit our jobs and supported each other in doing so. So kind of shared money, tried to support the person who was going to quit and be the first full-time employee. But the first amount of money that we put into that order was basically we're going to live and die on that decision. So we put all the money into one order that may or may not have arrived, and it did. Thank God we had the right factories in mind that we were choosing to work with. But I think at that point in time, we were able to leverage a lot of access to funding. Some of it was through sort of entrepreneurial type competitions, through the Quebec Entrepreneurial Contest, through the Canadian Youth Business Foundation, which is now Futurepreneur. Avenir through Desjardins Bank has a program that helped us a little bit along the way, and then just obviously lending money to the company whenever we needed to just inject a little bit and get beyond that spot of red in the cash flow. So we never had a marketing budget until a couple of years ago. So classic example, I think it was really good. We were doing the Bell TV media station in Ottawa, which is downtown market, very well known spot. And we said to them, you're doing something that's great for the environment, you're doing something that affects your bottom line, that reduces your operating costs, that's good for everybody. Why don't you talk about this? And we were on the 6 p.m. news, and I had a condo board meeting that night at 8 p.m. to sell a condo on lighting retrofit. And of course, the demographic was the type of demographic that would be watching the 6 p.m. news and kind of said, "I just saw you on the news, and now you're at our condo."
Yeah, great. That's awesome.
Zero cost.
Serendipity for you. There you go. Yeah. Nice. Well, and so how long did it take you from, let's say, from day one when you guys were still exactly working full-time jobs and doing this at the same time, to the point where you guys were out of the red?
Trying to think of when we actually hit that. I don't think we were ever that badly in the red. We were just very tight. One of my partners, it's nice that you need the yin and the yang. There's 3 of us, so I don't know what the other one would be. Is there yin, yang, yang? I don't know. but I would just spend liberally. Yeah, exactly. I would spend liberally. I would do a lot of things different. Not like a crazy person, but a little more liberally, let's say. We have a guy kind of in the middle. One of my partners, Rye, who's quite conservative, was that he keeps us in line. To make sure we're protecting protecting the bank accounts, making sure we're not overspending on things that are ridiculous, and then we have the other guy, Eduardo, kind of fits in the middle. So I think over the years we were able to avoid going into the red very much, but I want to say that probably about 2 years in, actually, oddly enough, when they pulled the incentives in Quebec, because we started in Montreal and in Ottawa, we were able to have, over a 6-month period, sign up as many people as you could to do that incentive work and do the lighting retrofits. And we actually had a surge of sales as a result of them pulling the plug on that program, because people were like, okay, I'm going to do it now that they're taking it away. Yeah. And then we were able to refocus our efforts on Ottawa, or in Ontario, actually, and go from there. So that helped us, and I think that was the point. And I want to say that was 2014, maybe, something like that. So for the last 3-4 years, we've been able to slowly ease up on the bootstrapping, although we still do it in some ways, for sure.
Yeah, well, that's interesting. Sort of an enforced scarcity, which often does work in sales. That's really interesting. And I think, one of the reasons why I wanted to kind of talk a bit about that is simply because I do see a lot of very young entrepreneurs, especially these sort of millennials coming up, and who want to go out and do their own thing. And I think that's great. They, in my industry, they all listen to a guy, let's say like Gary Vaynerchuk, who encourages them in a way to, and at least he does encourage them to say you got to hustle. It's hard work. But I think sometimes I see them have these sort of expectations of being able to just kind of rapidly scale, grow quickly, become this expectation of, okay, I'm going to become a millionaire business overnight. So I think it's important for people to hear all the work, all the different types of programs and time that went into it, and to recognize that that's actually, like, your success is actually, I think, unusual in a way. We had Jim Still, who was also at that event, on our show, and that was a great line that he had, and he said, I'm an overnight success, it just took me 25 years. Yeah. Right? So I think it's important for people to realize that, it's not all fun and easy. It's very rare that you get that sort of overnight success. I don't know if there's ever really been one. Maybe Facebook. I don't know. Cool. So, any other sort of advice that you would give young entrepreneurs?
Yeah, I think a couple things. So, one, choose the values that are important to you in life, for sure. I think that's a really big thing, because I don't think we build the business around our values, but we realized in the long run they align with our values, which was really nice, because then at least, if anything, if you're not making money, you're making an impact. Yeah. So like we were talking about before, about giving back to the community, everything can crumble and fall with your business, but if you've done something in the past that was like that, it lasts forever, right? And so I think that's one thing. Understand your values and try and fit something that's aligned, because I think you'd be happier doing it, success or failure. And then the other thing is, I think, really find some people that are that you know that can be a soundboard for your ideas and make sure you're not a complete lunatic. I mean, obviously we all have great ideas. Some of them come in the middle of the night and they might seem good to us, but obviously, you know, whether you can find your mother or your cousin or your neighbor or your best friend to kind of ping ideas off and make a quasi board just to make sure that you have some good ideas in place. And then do try and bootstrap a little bit. I think it was really worth it in the end because the risk was less. And my wife is super risk averse, so I mean, it fit in line with what we wanted to do, not only in the business but with my personal life too. It was kind of nice to be able to say, hey, we're only going to put in this much risk. It's not going to be quite as much. We're not going to just go and buy cars in an office and start a business that you can't afford. So
no, exactly. You appreciate the value of everything, right? Exactly. No, that's really interesting, and that ties in very much with something that I feel very strongly is sort of this new economy. You know, I think I see a lot of businesses that are kind of stuck in this sort of industrial age mindset, and what you're saying is very much sort of aligned with what I think is this sort of information age. You know, aligning with your values, that there's this sort of new economy of authenticity, that people aren't quite as people are a lot more forgiving of, you know, an unpackaged, you know, not having every, you know, commercial or ad being perfectly rehearsed, just being real with people. And again, like you said, being aligned with your values is important. Like, you know, exactly like you said, like you will, if you don't choose a career or path that is aligned with what you are passionate about, what you enjoy, you're setting yourself up for failure. You're going to be miserable, right? Whereas if you focus on your core competencies and the things that you love to do, then it doesn't feel like work. Like that's certainly, I know, the case for me, right? Is that this is fun for me, right? And so it doesn't, you know, I'm in flow when I'm building a website or I'm doing stuff, you know, related to marketing. I love it. So sometimes I technically am working hard, but it doesn't feel like it because you're enjoying it, right? So I think that's you know, really good advice. Cool. Anything else that you can sort of think of?
I guess just, you know, find people that are compatible with you to do the business. If you want to do a partnership, I think a partnership was really nice in our case, and I think sometimes that helps. I mean, obviously you can rely on your own skills. In our case, we had 3 people and originally 4, but 3 people in the end that have different skill sets. That was nice to be able to do that. So you don't have to do everything. I mean, I'm happy doing the IT. I'm happy doing the websites. I created websites in the past. I did a little IT. I had a VoIP telephone company. It was the first phone, not even remotely as nearly successful, but it was a startup nonetheless. My first foray into entrepreneurialism, and I think in some ways, if we had taken a little bit of investment at the beginning, of course, you're giving up your ownership in the company. I mean, this came up a lot of the time in the panel too. I think definitely take advantage of all the free sort of stuff. Like we were talking with you said with Steve Jobs, but there are a lot of mentors that you can get through different places that'll help you out. Set up a board if you're getting serious. Just, it could be your mom, it could be your cousin, and it could be your neighbor. It's people that just know a little bit about business, or nice people, as you said, that were willing to help you because they want to see you grow. Just a soundboard, right? Like to make sure you're not a complete lunatic with what you're thinking you're going to be doing in your business. I think that's a good one, and I found also co-shared spaces. Like we used Ottawa for a while up there, and we met a lot of other entrepreneurs, and that was really great to be able to be part of a network immediately when otherwise you'd be at home working out of your back, you know, your room. So that was good as well. But
peer groups are great. Absolutely, awesome. They've been huge for us too online. Cool, great stuff. Well, thanks so much.
Oh, thank you for having me. It was great.
I've got big balls. I've got